What's up, guys? MC Stu here, and today we're going to take a look at the latest announcement for a new ship bundle that was put out today on Twitter. And we're going to go over the package itself, look at the price, look at the ships, and see if we think it's worth it, and see what kind of new goodies that we got. So the picture right on the cover kind of gives it away here. So we're looking at 3 ships, Tier 6 coupons, some ship some fleet upgrade modules, ship slots, X upgrades, and some weapons, and then a mystery box here. We'll have to take a look and see what that is when we dig down into the description here. So let's scroll down and just take a quick peek here. So this is going to go live on PC on July 27th, so 2 days from the date of the recording of this, and this will most likely go up tonight, so that'll be accurate. That'll run through August 10th. Now the regular, quote-unquote regular price is 12,500 Zen, and we'll have a 25% off during this period. I don't know if this bundle will stay live after this period and just at the full price, or how that'll work exactly. But overall, I mean, just looking at the cost, it's a lot of money. You know, you're at what, 9,300 Zen and some change with it being on sale. So, you know, you're looking at about 2,300 Zen per ship, because you can get 4 ships. So you get these 3 new ships and then also the Tier 6 coupon. So in terms of just value for ship, it's a good price. Plus you get, you know, these other goodies along with it. Your modules, these run, I think, like 500 Zen each, either 500 or 1,000. So, I mean, you know, looking at these individually, if you were to add it all up, I think the price overall is pretty fair for what you're getting here. Let's take a look at what comes in the package. So we're going to get the Auger Temporal Science Vessel. We're going to get I was practicing saying this before I went to record. Here, we'll have Google say it.
Justiciar.
Justiciar. Okay, that's a tongue twister for me. And then we have the Cyclone. So we basically have a science ship, command cruiser, and an escort. We're going to get the 100% off coupon for any of the Tier 6 ships that are standalones in the Z store. 8 ship slots, 7 experimental ship upgrade tokens, 3 fleet modules, exclusive pack, Picard Starfleet uniform, next generation weapons, and the title Old School. So again, I mean, this bottom stuff for me is not as big of a deal. I mean, the nostalgia for the weapons, I do kind of like those. They're kind of cool looking. We'll look at the pictures of them down below in just a moment. Uniform, I mean, I don't hate them. Just, you know, doesn't do anything really for me. Ship modules, those are always nice to have. The fleet modules, experimental upgrades, we do get quite a few of those. I mean, I haven't ever bought any. And when the different Phoenix events come up, you know, it's pretty easy to get these for basically free. Ship slots are always good to have. Tier 6 token, great. That's you know, any ship of your choice out of there, and then the 3 ships that are featured here. So let's go ahead and we're just gonna do kind of just a brief overview of these ships. So they look really nice, the couple screenshots that we have here, and if I can find some additional shots, I'll put them up on the screen as we're talking through this stuff here. So let's start with the Auger Temporal Science Vessel. So this has a pretty standardized layout. It is a 3-3. Which is pretty standard for your science vessels. Secondary deflector, obviously. Console layout for this is going to be 4 tactical, a half an engineer, and 5 science. They did this on one of the other ones. I think this is a mistake, because obviously there's not a half, and I don't think it's configurable. So we'll leave just kind of an asterisk on that, but I'm assuming it's 2 engineering slots, 4 tactical, and the 5 science. That would give us our standard 11 slots. So pretty standard, straightforward stuff there. At the X upgrade, you can obviously get that additional slot for it. For the seating that we have here, we're going to have a Commander Science / Temporal Operative, Ensign Tactical, Commander Tactical, Lieutenant Commander Tactical, I'm sorry. So 2 tactical slots, a little bit heavy there for a science ship, in my opinion, especially on a 3-3. Then we have a Lieutenant Engineering Temporal, and we have a Lieutenant Commander Universal. So you got a little bit of flexibility there. Overall, I mean, the seating for a size ship, I don't know. You know, an Ensign Tactical having the 2 tactical seats kind of makes it a bummer. I mean, you can still put together a great build on this, but if you're going for that top end EPG or anything like that, having these tactical slots, having 2 of them anyways, is going to be a little bit of an issue there. So the console looks pretty interesting here. This is the enforced timeline primacy. And I'll just kind of brief overview it, but basically it acts similar to a secondary deflector. It looks like you click it, and then while using abilities that would normally proc your secondary deflector, it will proc this and cause it to do radiation damage. So if you're doing drain, energy drain, shield drain, secondary deflector, temporal abilities, any of those things are going to activate this and do radiation after a short duration. I'm assuming that you click it and it has a timer, and then when you're activating these things or these things are happening, that's when you'll get this radiation. I don't know that just runs all the time when the ship's just on. They don't give a ton of detail on the mechanics or the tooltip even, so we'll have to wait till we get it in game. They state down here below that it runs similar to a secondary deflector, although again, I think it's probably something you activate, and then it's acting kind of like a secondary deflector for a duration of time, and then it stops. It does have passives that give you a bonus auxiliary power and starship exotic particle generation. And again, we don't know what those numbers are. Now, the starship traits are interesting. They're actually very similar across all the 3 new ships here. And so what it says is using a specialization bridge officer ability for the first time in an area. And on one of the other descriptions, it says on a map. So I'm assuming what that means is in an instance. So you go into a TFO, first time you use a specialization ability, or the second time you use another specialization ability, you're going to have a chance. And they don't all say chance, but this one does say chance to trigger an additional ability of that specialization. So, and then it gives a list here. So, for instance, if you were to have the starship trait on an intel ship and use an intel specialization, you have a chance for any of these 3 at the tier 1 ability of that version to activate. For me, I mean, it's interesting and it's cool, and it may or may not do well. I don't like, this game already has enough RNG with all of, the different procs and all these different kinds of things that for me, if I'm going to use a starship trait, I want that to be something where if I do this, then this other thing happens for sure. Or it, has an ability where it just does its thing regardless of what's happening, right? I don't like this kind of thing. So if I'm running, an intel ship, maybe I don't want these 2 first things to happen. And so, that chance for, any of these to happen can be detrimental for the way that I'm building. I have no control over it, so I don't like it. And on this particular description for this trait, it says that that's just a chance to happen. So you have a chance of one of these things happening secondarily to the activation of your specialization ability. So trait-wise, I'm not super pumped on this trait here for the science vessel. Overall, the ship layout's not terrible. You could put together a decent build on it. I think it looks amazing. So I do really, really like the way the ship looks. And, that's half of it right there. Bridge officer seating, kind of in the middle on that. And the consoles that you can slot, that's, fine. It is, again, a little bit heavier on the tactical. So heavy on the tactical for the slots for your equipment, and it's heavy on the tactical on your seating as well. So it's just kind of interesting. Something a little different, could be fun to play with. But again, for me, I'm putting this, at, if we're going, 1 out of 10, I'm putting this in the 5 range, right in the middle. It's not total doo-doo or anything like that, but it's definitely not, the best science ship you can get your hands on easily. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the next ship. All right, and we're back to the how do you say it?
Justiciar.
There we go. Thank you, Google. This looks pretty cool. Again, I like what they're doing with these ships. I mean, most of the ships they release are beautiful, even if they're not like right up my alley in terms of design. They do a really, really good job on the ships here in STO. And I'm a fan of this. It's similar to I can't think of it. There's only a tier 5 version of it. You guys have to tell me in the comments. I can't think of what it is, but it looks like a newer version of the ship that I'm thinking of. I know that's not real helpful. So this is a Command Star Cruiser. This is similar to the Legendary Audi. When I was going through looking at this, so what we have is a 4-4, pretty standard. We have a Commander Engineering Command, which is nice. We have a Lieutenant Commander Tactical, again, very nice. Lieutenant Science / Command Specialization, Ensign Science, and a Universal, Lieutenant Commander Universal. So this is actually pretty flexible seating here. You could do a Mine Torp build on it. This would excel very well as a tank in any kind of capacity. And if I were to pick this up, this would probably be something that I would put a tank build on is I think what I would look at doing there. For the console slots, we have 3 tactical, so we are a little bit light there, which is kind of a bummer. We have 5 engineering, and then we have 2/3 of science. So here we go again with this slash. Again, I think this is a mistake, unless I'm missing something, because I'm being honest, I didn't read all of the little lore background, so I don't know if this is configurable where you can say I want 2 science instead of 3. If that were the case, you would need to up one of these other ones. So I don't think that's the case. So we're 3 tactical, 5 engineering, and 3 science. And this would probably be a good candidate, like I said, for tank, and especially with the new consoles, the ISOMAG consoles. You could put 6 of those on the ship here with the 5 engineering slots, along with the X upgrade, and then you could use the Fleet Colony console for your healing tactical consoles to put down in the tactical slots. Be pretty interested to see what we could kind of put together there. I'm sure CasualSAB will have some thoughts on this ship with that, and given the amount of engineering console slots that this thing has. This has the standard cruiser array here, so you have attract fire, again, perfect for tanking. Let's look at the console. So we have micro warp shockwave. So what this does is it will teleport you to the enemy, and once that happens, the warp bubble will implode and a shockwave will go out doing damage to the enemy. The higher your hull is, the larger that damage is going to be. So basically we have an area of effect once you arrive at the location of the enemy that you are targeting, and the damage from that is going to scale with the hull capacity of your ship. Specialist gear. So again, another trait that is just like basically the one before, but it has a little different flavor on what it will do here. And you can see how this really kind of lends itself to tanking as well when you look at the command and the taunt that it can do. So I like this description better because I didn't see anything in here that said that you had a chance. So it's saying using a specialization bridge officer ability for the first time on a map. Last one said area. It's just kind of weird, the different terminology. Or further abilities of the same specialization triggers an additional effect against your current target based on that specialization ability. So, for instance, if you were to activate, suppression barrage like you would on a tank, you also are going to get a taunt. So this starship trait I would be much more interested in, not so much because it's just I see real good potential for the tanking, because some of this other stuff can definitely work well for other types of builds, but there's no chance and there's not a random, ability. So the last one we looked at, if you were to use command, there was a potential for 3 different things to happen, and whether or not they would happen at all was a chance, and they don't give us what those stats are in this description here. This one, the way that it's worded, and again, this is all predicated on this being accurate. We'll see for sure once we get this stuff in game and can take a look at it. But this particular starship trait is laid out in a way to where if you do this, then that will happen. And that meets my basic criteria for usability on starship traits. Again, there's already too much RNG. So overall, I think this is a decent ship here. This is going to be a versatile ship. You could do torpedo builds, beam overload, fire at will. I don't think you can put cannons on a ship like this. I think that's going to exclude that from it. But basically everything else, barring obviously science, because it's not a science ship, this is going to be a pretty versatile ship that you could do a lot with. And I think this thing's pretty decent. So I would probably give this, an 8 or 9 out of 10. And I really enjoy the way that it looks on top of that, which is always important. All right, let's move on to the final of the new ships, and that is the Cyclone Intel Escort. And this thing looks really cool. This is a reskin of another ship that's in the game that, again, I can't think of the name of. It's too many variants, too many different ships, and I'm never gonna remember them all. So, but it's a good looking ship. There's also a tier 5 version of this as well. Let me know in the comments, is there already a tier 6 variant of this? I think this might be the first one, just like the last one that we were looking at. I feel like these are ships from those tier 5 choice pack boxes that you can get really cheap. And they've gone and updated and made tier 6 versions of them. That's what this looks like to me. All right, so let's go ahead and scroll down here a bit and take a look at what we got. So we got a 5.2. This is also, we'll kind of skip ahead. It's got a experimental weapon. This looks like a new weapon. So this is a goal type sonic resonator. So I don't know what that means. I don't know what it does. I'm assuming it does sonic damage. We'll get more detail on that once the ship is released. This has a battle cloak, and after we're going to go back and take a quick peek and see if the other ones do. I doubt it, but we're just going to double check. So this is an intel ship. For the bridge officer seating, we have a commander tactical intel, which is great for a ship like this. Lieutenant engineering intel specialization, lieutenant commander science, ensign science, and a lieutenant universal. I think so far this is my favorite setup for the role style of this ship. So you got all the tactical you need along with intel. You got a good amount of science here that you can use for your unconventional systems procs, along with another science that you could also use for that as well, or something else. And then you have some nice flexibility with lieutenant commander universal. So this layout's really, really nice in terms of the bridge officer seating. Very, very solid. For console, we have 5 tactical, which makes sense. We have a half an engineering slot. I should stop making that joke. Is this on purpose? I mean, this can't be on purpose. Or am I just totally missing something here? We're going to assume it's 2 because that adds up to 11 with the 4 science seats. And obviously, all of these scale with your level. So that was something that was changed, but we'll just note it since it was at the end of that line there. All right, let's take a look at its console and trait. So this has the sensor phantom projector. So what this is going to do is when you activate this console, it's going to basically spawn a decoy that is going to, it says it spawns on the far side of the foe that you are targeting. And that is going to cause the foe to target that decoy. So taking some of that damage potential off of you. Additionally, while the console is active, while the console is active, the bonus it provides to flanking damage is dramatically increased. So this has passives of critical severity. I'm interested to see how much critical severity, because that's always nice, and flanking damage for directed energy weapons. So this is important. Directed energy weapons generally going to mean beams. Does that mean cannons as well? Cannons are energy and they are directed. So that I think this is going to be cannons and beams. It would be crazy if it wasn't cannons as well. So this console looks pretty nice just for the passives, and some of that's going to depend on how much of a boost we're going to get here with the critical severity and your flanking damage. Because if you really, if you're running the intel spec and you're in, a raider or a ship that gets that extra bonus to flanking damage, and even without this console, if you're really paying attention to that when you're piloting, you can get a lot of extra damage out of your ship. And so if this is going to also boost that, if it does it in a good dramatic way, along with the critical severity, this could end up being a very, very good console. Let's take a look at what we missed down here. Starship trait, adaptive tactical algorithm. Okay, so this is the last bit here. So utilizing a specialization bridge officer ability for the first time in an area, or another ability of the same specialization triggers. So this is really weird. If you look at all of the different descriptions, 2 of them say area, one of them says map, and one of them has a chance to trigger. So it's kind of weird how they put this together. These also have an if-then effect here, which again I like. So whichever one you activate is going to depend on what gets activated. So for instance, in this one, if we have intel, it's going to increase damage and bonus flanking damage. So I'm assuming that means it's going to increase your damage in general and bonus flanking damage. So having this console running an intel spec and activating intel abilities, you're going to be stacking up a ton of extra damage and damage for flanking, especially, which is huge. Flanking damage, I believe, is generally bonus damage. So I see this being pretty decent. So 2 out of the 3 starship traits to me look pretty good. Again, the main issue with the first one that we looked at from the science ship is that it is it has RNG associated because it says a chance. These last 2 that we looked at does not say that it's a chance. It's saying that when you do that, this will happen. So overall, this ship looks pretty darn good to me. It's a good looking ship. I would give this a 9 to 10 for cannon scatter volley. Cannon scatter volley, I guess, would be the best thing to put on a ship like this. That's where you're going to get just the absolute most out of it. But you could put anything else you wanted on it. Any kind of beam build, forward firing setup. Torpedoes, not so much because there's no commander. I mean, you could do that, but having commander seating, specialization seating is really a must-have for any kind of effective torpedo build. So this thing, cannon scatter volley, this looks like this is going to be a monster based on what they've given us here. Again, we'll have to kind of look at this stuff in a little more detail once we get these in game and we can actually see the tooltip, and then there's also testing done. But based on what they're advertising here, this looks to be pretty darn decent. So again, let's look at the other couple items that are going to come in this bundle, and then I'll give you my closing thoughts here. So this is the Picard themed uniform is what they had listed here, and let's confirm that. Picard, Starfleet, yeah, so 2387. So it's okay. I mean, it doesn't make me super excited or anything like that, but it doesn't look bad. It's personal preference. I really like kind of these old style little phasers. You remember back in TNG in the first, couple seasons, they had these really kind of weird little ones that were colored funny. Kind of cool. And then I really like these. These are from your TNG movies is where we started seeing these in DS9. And then obviously your standard TNG phaser beginning of DS9, we saw these as well. Definitely wouldn't mind to have a pair of these. So let's talk about account unlocks. So basically everything that's pictured here is an account unlock. So anything that's not a consumable would be on account unlock, and you would be able to claim that on all of your characters. The things that you would not be able to reclaim are going to be like your tier 6 token, your ship slots, your experimental upgrades, or your fleet modules. So, and that makes sense. I mean, once you use them, you use them. So these are consumables, and once you use them, that's it. Everything else here is going to be reclaimable. Now, just to clarify, your tier 6 coupon, while the coupon is not reclaimable, let's say you pick up I don't know, you pick up X ship, whatever it is. Once you pick that up, you can reclaim that ship on all your characters. You just wouldn't be able to reclaim the coupon and get a different ship on other characters. So just to clarify there. So overall, I mean, I think the bundle doesn't look terrible. I think probably the science ship is kind of the no-go for me, but it looks nice. And again, overall, you're getting 4 ships along with the fleet modules, the slots. The upgrades I'm not going to include, or this other stuff. And this is in the eye of the beholder, really, if it's useful. And as for the X upgrades, we get so many for free. It just, there's no real value to me because we're able to just get so many. So, if you're looking at, $23.50 approximately per ship, relatively speaking to what you normally pay for a basic C-store ship, that's a pretty good value or good deal. Value is, again, in the eye of the beholder. $96 on sale or $93 on sale is still a lot of money. So let's just make sure we're clear about that. Lastly, I want to also give a disclaimer. Anything that we look at that looks like it might be really good has the potential of being adjusted or nerfed. So you may want to wait, a couple, or a week or so into the sale, see some of what we're putting out in the testing. And if something just looks OP and you have to have it, then maybe you wait, because that most likely means in 3 months it might get nerfed into the ground. We see that happen. I understand that kind of thing has to happen, but the issue is that they don't tell us it's going to happen. So this ship might come out, and next time it's about to go on sale, or 3 months from now, they've been working on, balancing things. They don't tell you about it. You buy the ship, and, a couple weeks later, a couple days later, the reason you bought it, let's say if you're buying it for, a particular trait or console and it gets nerfed and the reason you bought it is now disappeared and there's no refunds. That's different from most other games. If things have to be nerfed that costs money, there's refunds offered, and at a minimum, the community is made aware the moment those things are being looked at and are potentially happening. There's other games like Destiny, they balance and nerf weapons and stuff all the time, but I don't pay money for that stuff, right? I earn that in game completely. That's just how it works for most of it. There's some very few things that you can buy for money that are like that, but just be aware of that. If these ships come out and you're seeing live streams and other review videos and something just looks crazy OP and good and you're like, man, I gotta have that because I like the performance side of it. And I realize that's not everybody. Most people don't play this game for all the performance stuff, but if you do, just make sure that you're being cognizant of that and thinking that through, because you might pick that up and you might find sometime in the near future that what you bought it for no longer exists in the way that was initially advertised. So I just want to give that disclaimer. This isn't a sales pitch on buying this. I'm not saying go buy it. I don't think I'm going to buy it. $93 is a lot of money. And, at this point, there's other things that I probably should be spending that on instead of STO. And I don't mean other video games. I just mean life in general. So I wouldn't mind to have like this ship here and probably this one, but I don't want to buy all of it just to get those two things. Because if you're looking at this and you're like, I hate everything, but I love this ship, then the way you have to look at that subjectively is that this ship is costing you $93 if you're not going to use any of this other stuff, right? Or in my case, if I just want these two things, and sure, I don't mind having a tier 6, coupon, then, and I don't care about the rest of it, then, it's $93 divided by 3, right? So it's going to be, $31 or so for everything there, which wouldn't be a bad deal because that's what individual ships cost. So, all right, guys. Well, that's my thoughts on the bundle. Again, overall, doesn't look bad. Again, the price doesn't look terrible, relatively speaking. STO is expensive. Most things, it feels like these days, are expensive, but it is what it is. And so, relatively speaking, I think this is a decent value or deal for the amount of stuff that you're getting. And at least 2 out of the 3 look very, very solid. And the third here doesn't look terrible. And then, obviously, you get your choice of whatever you want from the C store. So there you go. Let me know what you guys think. Are you excited about this? How do you like the look of these ships? I'm going to try and dig out some more pictures and I'll post those up on some of the socials. Are you planning on getting it, or is it just a hard no for you? Let me know what you guys think there. I always appreciate your guys' feedback and comments. Make sure you guys check out the Discord server. If you have questions on the game, or you're just looking for, community people to play with, we got 3,000 people in the Discord server. Everybody is welcomed. You can come in and ask your questions. I'm pretty good about responding in most cases to the comments on the videos, but this game's complicated. So, if you have in-depth questions about stuff, hit up the Discord server down in the description and ask your questions in there, and either myself or one of the many others would love to help you out with whatever you're doing in game there. We also run regular giveaways in there as well, so that's always nice to mention. All right, guys. Again, thank you for watching. I appreciate all of you. Have a good one.